Pharmapal.
You're listening to Bloomscast, the official podcast of Blooms.io, home of the bioactive library for mass spectrometry instant optimization. Let's dive into the latest in natural chemistry, bioactive discovery, and the future of lab innovation.
Today, we're tackling a really important and pretty fascinating topic. What does the science actually say about medicinal plants used during childbirth?
Right.
For ages, people have used herbs during pregnancy, labor, and, afterwards, often thinking that natural automatically means safe.
Absolutely. And it's easy to see why. There's this long history, this tradition.
But when we're making choices about health, especially during pregnancy, you really need reliable, evidence-based information. That's key.
It really is. Pregnancy changes the body so much, and understanding how any substance, herbs included, might affect both the pregnant person and the baby is just crucial.
So today we're diving deep into the data, specifically clinical trial data. We've got a review here that pulls together experimental studies, clinical reports, basically the hard evidence on herbal products in pregnancy. Our mission really is to focus on those plants where we have clinical trial results. We want to see what the science tells us about safety and, well, if they actually work during labor, delivery, postpartum care, that whole period.
Yeah, separating the anecdotes from the evidence.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with ginger. Lots of people talk about it for morning sickness.
Ginger, yes. Zingiber officinale roscoe, scientifically. It's definitely been looked at in several clinical trials, mostly for nausea and vomiting during pregnancy. This review highlights 4 key studies.
Okay, first up, Strip Remote and Lekiananda, 2003. What did they find?
So this was a good study designed, randomized, double-blind, controlled, 128 participants total. They gave 1.5 grams of dry ginger rhizome daily for 3 days.
Okay.
And compared it to vitamin B6, the key finding. The ginger group had a significant drop in their nausea and vomiting scores compared to the B6 group.
Interesting. What about side effects?
That's important too. They noted no significant difference in minor side effects between the ginger and the B6 groups.
So potentially more effective for the symptoms and not causing more problems. That sounds promising. Now, there's another ginger study, Smith et al., 2004. Different dose, longer time.
Right. Smith's team used 150 milligrams a day, so just over a gram, but for 3 weeks. Again, randomized, controlled, blinded, and a bigger group, nearly 300 people.
And their focus.
More on birth outcomes. How did ginger affect the baby, the pregnancy overall? And what they found is reassuring. No differences in congenital abnormalities.
Ah, good.
Or other big outcomes like live births, miscarriages, stillbirths, gestational age, birth weight. None of that was different between the ginger group and the control group.
Okay, that addresses some safety concerns over slightly longer use. Then, 2007, Shatuma and colleagues, they looked specifically at side effects.
Yes, with a dose of 650 milligrams 3 times a day for 4 days.
Right.
Another randomized, double-blind controlled trial. They found minor side effects, things like drowsiness or heartburn, happened in similar numbers in both the ginger group and the control group. No statistically significant difference.
So again, the side effect profile seems pretty comparable to placebo at that dose. Okay, one more for ginger. Pangrojpa et al., also 2007, lower dose this time.
Yep, half a gram, so 500 milligrams, twice daily for 7 days. Double-blind, randomized, controlled, comparing it again to vitamin B6.
And the result?
They found both ginger and vitamin B6 significantly cut down the number of vomiting episodes. But interestingly, there wasn't a significant difference between ginger and B6 in how well they work against nausea, dry retching, and vomiting.
Ah, so in this study, ginger seemed about as effective as vitamin B6, not necessarily better.
Exactly. Equivalent, basically.
Okay, so pulling all that ginger info together, it looks like there's some decent evidence it can help with nausea and vomiting. And importantly, these studies with the doses and times they looked at didn't raise major red flags for safety for mom or baby.
That seems fair to say based on this collection of trials, yeah.
Right. Now let's switch gears. Cranberry, often used for UTIs, right? Urinary tract infection.
That's the common use, yes. Vaccinia macrocarpon. The review mentions a study by Wing and colleagues from 2008 looking at it during pregnancy.
What did that trial involve?
It was randomized control. Pregnant individuals from 16 weeks on got either a special 27% cranberry juice formulation or a placebo. They had 3 groups, actually. 3 doses of juice a day, 1 dose of juice plus 2 placebos, or 3 placebos.
Okay, different dosing levels. And the findings?
Well, no significant differences between the groups for obstetric outcomes or anything related to the newborn. There was a slight trend, but it wasn't statistically significant, towards fewer UTIs in the group getting the juice multiple times a day.
But not strong evidence.
Not strong, no. And a big point here, almost 39% of participants dropped out of the study.
Wow, that's high. Why?
Mostly gastrointestinal upset. Stomach issues from the juice, it seems.
So maybe a slight hint it could help with UTIs at higher doses, but weak evidence, and it might upset your stomach. Definitely something to weigh up. Okay, moving on. Raspberry leaf, rubus idaeus. This one comes up a lot in pregnancy circles.
It really does. It has this long-standing reputation, for toning the uterus, getting it ready for labor. The review cites a study by Simpson and colleagues from 2001.
And what did their trial look at? How was it set up?
It was well-designed, double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled. Pregnant individuals took 2 1.2-gram raspberry leaf tablets a day, so 2.4 grams total daily, starting at 32 weeks right up until labor.
Okay, sounds rigorous. What did they find?
First off, no adverse effects reported for either the mother or the baby, so that's good from a safety perspective.
Right.
But interestingly, they found no statistically significant difference between the raspberry leaf group and the placebo group on several key labor outcomes.
Like what?
Like the length of labor, how long the pregnancy lasted, whether labor needed medical augmentation, speeding up the need for an epidural, or the C-section rate. None of those were significantly different.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting, because you hear so often that it shortens labor or makes it easier. This study didn't back that up.
Not in a statistically significant way, no.
Good to know. All right, next. Echinacea. People take that for colds. Immune support.
Echinacea, SPL, yeah. The review points to a prospective controlled trial by Gallo and Corin in 2001. They look at women using echinacea during pregnancy. Doses varied tablets from 250 to 1,000 milligrams a day, or tinctures, 5 to 30 drops daily.
And how long were they taking it?
Just 5 to 7 days, so relatively short-term use.
Okay. And the findings?
The main finding was no significant difference in the rates of abortions or malformations between the echinacea group and the control group.
So it didn't seem to cause major problems in pregnancy itself, at least with short-term use?
Right. But they did explicitly note that safety during breastfeeding hadn't been established back then.
Important caveat. Okay. Let's shift to something potentially more concerning. Licorice. Glycyrrhiza urulensis.
Yes. The review highlights a prospective controlled trial by Choi and colleagues from 2013. They looked at women who consumed licorice up to about 2,100 milligrams a day at various points between the 4th and 25th week of gestation.
And what did they find? This one sounds a bit worrying.
It does raise a concern. Their analysis showed a marginally higher rate of stillbirths among the women who took licorice compared to those who didn't.
Marginally higher.
Okay. But when they compared that rate to the general population rate in the Republic of Korea, where the study was done, the difference became statistically significant.
Ah, I see. So a significant increase compared to the background rate.
Correct. They didn't find significant differences in other fetal outcomes like major birth defects. But the authors suggested, while licorice might not be a major teratogen causing birth defects, it could potentially increase the stillbirth risk. They definitely recommended more investigation.
Yeah, that's a serious potential risk. Definitely a flag there for licorice during pregnancy. Okay, finally, the review mentions St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum.
Right. Used often for depression. Remedies and colleagues did a prospective controlled trial in 2009. They looked at pregnant individuals taking it for mild to moderate depression, averaging about 615 milligrams a day.
And who are they compared to?
2 groups. One group taking other standard antidepressant medications, and also a healthy control group not taking anything for depression.
Makes sense.
The results?
They found that the rates of major malformations, live births, and premature births were similar across all 3 groups.
Okay.
And these rates were comparable to what you'd expect in the general population.
So this initial data suggests St. John's wort might not carry a major risk for those specific outcomes.
It suggests that, yes. But again, it's crucial to remember this was one study, and the number of participants taking St. John's wort wasn't huge, 54 people.
Right. Limitations are key here.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a broader point the review makes. Many pregnant individuals do use herbal products, sometimes without solid scientific evidence, and some could even be hazardous.
Yeah.
And while the studies we've discussed for these specific herbs didn't always find definitive risks, except perhaps the licorice concern.
The fact that many trials are small means we often just don't have conclusive answers, especially about all possible pregnancy outcomes. It's hard to rule out rarer problems with smaller studies.
That makes sense. And the review also mentions that what's popular and how it's regulated varies wildly across the globe, right? Along with traditional uses.
Exactly. And midwives are often key advisors here, which just underscores how vital it is for everyone involved in prenatal care to have access to evidence-based information.
And they specifically called out a lack of data for some really common ones.
Yes, the review noted that for herbs like chamomile and peppermint, despite being commonly used, there's a lack of good scientific documentation about safety and efficacy during pregnancy based on the clinical trials they surveyed.
Okay, so if we try to summarize the clinical trial picture, for some herbs like ginger, there's some encouraging, though maybe not totally definitive, data for specific uses like nausea. Seems relatively safe in the short term based on these trials.
Right.
For others, like cranberry or raspberry leaf, the clinical trial evidence for the commonly claimed benefits seems weak or absent, although safety didn't appear to be a major issue in the trials discussed.
That sums it up well.
And then for something like licorice, there's a potential safety signal that definitely warrants caution and more research. St. John's wort may be less risk than feared, but still limited data.
Precisely. It really highlights the need for more high-quality, rigorous research. Traditional use gives us clues, but it's not the same as scientific validation, especially during pregnancy.
It really isn't. The small studies, limited numbers, it just doesn't give you the solid answers needed for confident recommendations sometimes.
Exactly. Now, the review also touched upon another category of plants, those traditionally used for different purposes, abortifacients and emagogues.
Right. Things intended to induce uterine contractions or bleeding. The review compared traditional Persian medicine, or TPM, with modern literature.
It did. TPM describes numerous plants with these kinds of activities. And there's some overlap with plants mentioned in modern scientific literature, too.
Which ones overlapped?
Plants like Sesamum indicum, also Myrrh commiphora myrrha, Hanelsonia inermis. A few others, too, like Opomonax chironium, Plumboga rosea, and Juniperus sabina, or Savin juniper.
And did the review mention any clinical trials related to these traditionally used abortifacients?
Yes, for a couple of the overlapped ones. For sesame, a clinical trial showed it was effective in helping to remove retained products of conception after miscarriage, with only minor side effects reported.
Okay, so a potential therapeutic use after a pregnancy loss.
Correct. And for myrrh, another clinical trial looked at its use in cases of incomplete abortion. It found a significantly higher rate of successful complete abortion in the group receiving myrrh compared to a placebo group.
So again, a specific medical context, not for inducing abortion electively, but for managing an incomplete one.
Exactly. The review stresses these contexts. It also mentions several other plants identified in modern literature or animal studies as having potential abortifacient or emmenagogue activity, or even causing fetal harm.
Like what kind of plants?
Things like Persian hogweed, Heracleum persicum, showed teratogenic and abortifacient effects in mice. Oregano, Oreganum vigore, at high doses increased abortion and fetal malformations in mice. Thyme species like Zetaria multiflora, possibly linked to abortion in rats. Stachys lavandulifolia showed abortive effects in mice. Also Paganum harmala, Syrian rue, known for uterine contractive effects. Ruta graveolens, common rue, which seems to induce abortion via organ damage in animals. Saffron, Crocus sativus, showed abortifacient and teratogenic effects in mice. And one study noted higher miscarriage rates in saffron farm workers, although another clinical study suggested it might actually help facilitate labor. So, complex picture there.
Very complex.
Henna, again, Lawsonia inermis, showed teratogenicity in mice and hormonal changes linked to abortion. Plumbago rosea, anti-fertility effects in animals. Juniperus sabina, possibly preventing implantation in animals. And even chamomile, Matricaria chamomilla, which we mentioned earlier, lacked data for general pregnancy use, showed an abortive effect in rats in one experimental study.
Wow, that's a long list with some serious potential effects demonstrated, at least in animal models or specific studies.
It is. And the crucial point the review makes is that many plants traditionally used as abortifacients lack modern scientific investigation in humans, and absolutely should not be used during pregnancy due to potential risks.
Right. That seems like a critical takeaway. Avoid self-experimenting, especially with anything traditionally known to affect pregnancy.
Definitely.
So, wrapping this all up, the big picture seems to be, while some common medicinal plants used in pregnancy have some clinical trial data, maybe suggesting benefits like ginger for nausea, the overall evidence base is still pretty limited. We need more and better research for most of these. Absolutely. The natural label doesn't guarantee safety or effectiveness.
And that makes the conversation with your healthcare provider absolutely vital. Don't just rely on tradition or what you read online. Get personalized advice before using any herbal remedies during pregnancy.
Couldn't agree more. And while, yes, there's potential in researching traditional plants for managing childbirth issues, like we saw with sesame or myrrh in specific contexts, self-medicating, especially with things known or suspected to be abortifacients or emmenagogues, is just too risky.
It really is. This deep dive, I think, illuminates that tension. You have this long history, growing interest in natural options, but also this real need for rigorous science. So maybe the final thought for you listening is, how can we best bridge that gap? How do we connect traditional knowledge with strong scientific validation to ensure the safest, most effective care for pregnant people?
Yeah, what questions does this raise for you about how traditional medicine and modern healthcare should interact, especially during such a critical time like pregnancy?
Thanks for tuning in to Bloom's Cast, brought to you by blooms.io. Stay curious, stay connected, and we'll see you next time on the frontier of natural product innovation.
Pharmapal.